Well, hi. It is Friday, October 25th, 2024, and time for another morning coffee. And since it's Friday, I thought I'd bring in a co-host again, Mr. Travis Waldstein, Air Serv Heating and Air Conditioning, and Waldstein Plumbing in Council Bluffs. Before we jump into that,
got the Waldstein Plumbing shirt on tonight.
Yes, you do. Before we jump into that, let's find out where the coffee cup is from, because I just got a new one. I had talked earlier that last Friday I emceed the NAMI Southwest Iowa annual gala, the fundraiser, and I saw them again today. And as a thank you, look what they brought me.
Oh,
is this not cool? It even has cork on the bottom, so it doesn't make noise when you set it down.
I didn't know if that was cork or that was wood. So
no, that's cork on the bottom of there. So this is really nice. And oh, by the way, they'd set a goal for that event to raise $8,000 after all of their expenses were paid.
Okay.
They hit 8,400.
Okay.
So it was a very successful evening. Thanks to everyone who came out and bid on all of the wonderful items, and even we did. I got to play auctioneer, sort of, a little bit.
You know, I went to auctioneering school like 20 years ago. I can be a judge. I'm a terrible auctioneer, but I know
you should have come out and did it, because I was horrible at it. But we did sell some bacon. That was the idea behind that. But
is that the one? Is that the one where you're talking about where they had the side pork?
No, this was all this pre-cooked bacon, and what we were auctioning off is the same stuff that goes to Starbucks for their breakfast sandwiches.
Oh, I don't go to Starbucks, so I have no idea what that would be. I'm sure that shocks everybody here. So,
why would we? We've got coffee mugs right here.
I mean, you know, my son's wife and my office gal like Scooters, so you know, I don't know. Maybe it's Scooters bacon too.
I don't know.
What do I know?
I don't know if I've ever. I know Scooters has sandwiches, but I've never eaten in there. But wanted to talk some football with you again, since the games are on tomorrow, and I suppose that we need to mention something about that horrible outing that we saw last Saturday by our favorite team. They just didn't even bother showing up, I guess.
I'm not sure what's worse, watching Iowa versus Michigan State, or me falling in a 7-foot hole Monday night in my front yard. They both hurt about as bad.
Well, I saw your post online about that. Was that you were getting some water lines put in or something, and that's why the hole was there?
Well, anybody that knows me, if you ever came by my place, I'm out in the country. We have what I call the chicken Taj Mahal.
Yeah, I've been in
chickens. Yes, and you've seen it.
Those chickens live better than me. Yeah.
And according to my cousin in India, it's a lot nicer than a lot of housing in India. So she said I did just fine with it. So anyway, so we're putting a faucet because, listen, in the wintertime, I don't want to treasure 75 foot across the yard through snow and everything else. So we're putting a faucet right by the chicken barn. Well, I forgot there was a hole. I was patching up something for my wife, and I had run to the shop real quick. And, I forgot that there was a 7-foot hole in my yard. And I went around the corner and I stepped, and next thing I know, I'm in the bottom of the hole. I hit something with my elbow and I landed on my feet, but I don't know how. And I just know it was a lot of weight that came down really fast, and that was not a fun experience.
How did you get back out of that thing?
Luckily, the ladder was there.
Oh.
And I'm just very glad that my wife did not know how to run my Bobcat, because there's a dirt pile right next to it. She'd have probably pushed the thing in. I'm sitting there talking to my buddy Joe Allen, and when I did this, he's like, "You okay?" And I said, "Well, I'm not dead." So, and he says, "Yeah." He's like, "You're lucky that Amy doesn't know how to run the Bobcat, or she'd probably bury you." And so now that everybody's over it, I guess everybody at work today was having a good time with. Well, Travis obviously not paying attention in the dark to what the heck's going on. So,
And so all of that to let you know just how painful that Iowa-Michigan State game was. But as I mentioned on Monday, it's in the rear view. Get it, and just move on and move past it. Yeah. And now Northwestern coming up tomorrow. A game, again, Iowa should win. But they have historically played to the level of their opponents.
Yeah, should have beat Iowa State. Should have played a lot better versus Michigan State.
Yeah, don't tell Iowa State fans that. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah, well, you know what? They won the game. I'll give them credit for that. But when you're up 13 nothing at half and you lose it 20-19. Well, we got what we deserved. And listen, you look at their projection. We're now in our game. You want to talk about a game that flipped 2-team seasons? You know, look where Iowa State's at, and good for them. And you look where Iowa's at, and well, you kind of reap what you sow. So
when was the last time you saw Iowa State ranked in the top 10 in football?
Maybe 2002 when they were 7-0, and then they went on a 6-game swoon where I think they finished up 7-6. So
was that the Troy Davis?
That was Seneca Wallace.
Oh, okay.
That was the year that Iowa finished 11-1, and they went to the Orange Bowl, and the only loss was to Iowa State. And that was a game where Iowa was up 3 touchdowns at home and lost the game in the second half.
Yeah,
so
lost
there seems to be a trend.
Lost to USC in the Orange Bowl that year, I think.
Yeah, that was the highlight was the kickoff, and after that, it was all downhill. Kind of like the Rose Bowl in 2016. Oh, there was another game that was over after kickoff. So.
Yeah, pretty much. What are you expecting to see out of this Northwestern game?
Well, I was, second year coach, Northwestern. Last year they played Iowa 10-7. I was at Wrigley. I was at that game. Northwestern, when Fitzgerald was there, this was their Waterloo. They circled the Iowa game on their schedule. Now Fitzgerald's gone, new coaching staff, but I think with Northwestern, if they take a look at Wisconsin and they take a look at Iowa, those are 2 teams on their schedule that they feel like they want to come in and win. And listen, they took Iowa could have went to the Big Ten title game, I think is in 2022. And, Purdue beat them. But there's been a couple times in the last 5 years where Iowa's been lined to go to the Big Ten title game. And either Northwestern or Purdue knocked them out of it. So this is going to be a team that's going to be confident. They haven't played great on the year. If you look, they played Indiana tough. And, Indiana just blew out Nebraska last week. They beat up on Maryland. Wisconsin kind of took it to them. But if you look at their schedule, they're not great. They're a 500 team, but boy, Michigan State wasn't supposed to be that good last week either. And Childs, he kind of looked like Antoine Randall against their defense, and our defense has not looked like that in a long time. Right. So I think you almost have to flush the game from last week, and that's what I said. I think to be ready, it's at home. Defense, there's a lot of talk about the secondary play, and I think they're doing some stuff to address it. So I know there's a true freshman from Michigan that they're talking that Iowa might play this weekend. They'll probably have Castro back. This year, listen, we don't have Cooper DeJean. You don't have Joe Evans. You're missing a couple guys that, you replaced, but you didn't really replace because of their experience. And I think it's shown a little bit. Iowa's pass defense is not great right now. And, what do you do? And so you just got to continue to find players that fit the position. The tackling, I think, is what surprised everybody versus Michigan State. But, how much that had to do with Sebastian Castro being gone? Because I think he's a lot more important cog in that defense than probably what a lot of people realize. And there was probably guys out of position because he was not the steadying influence there. So if he's healthy this year, I expect him to play better. But, at the end of the day, you can't get down 12-0 or 15-0 and have 30 yards offense at halftime. And finally, Kirk came out and said, oh, yeah, he cannot play like that in the first half next week. It's kind of like, really? What a novel thought. So it's stubborn. I've had enough discussions.
Kirk's known for that, though. Kirk's known for making a decision at the beginning of the season, and then that's the decision. We're not coming off of it. It would take a Herculean effort from somebody to be able to get him to switch midstream. Don't worry. It has happened, but it's very, very rare.
Don't worry. Caleb Johnson will fumble one time and he'll be fourth string. But by God, Cade McNamara throws 4 interceptions and 3 fumbles. Oh yeah, he's still our guy. But it's like, come on. I just okay. But all right, let's think positive.
Well, let's talk about. You mentioned Indiana and Nebraska, and that's one that Nebraska. As I was watching this, and I was watching Coach Rule in the post-game interview, it was such a stark difference what you see from Matt Rule versus what you saw from Scott Frost, because Scott Frost, after a loss, would sit in that press room and just berate his team, kept using the word they, talking about his own team. Matt Rule didn't do that. He said, "This is entirely on me. We weren't ready, and that's my fault." And I am very impressed by that kind of integrity that he showed there. Now, when you have something like that happen, and then the week right after that, you have Ohio State, who, by the way, just lost to Oregon and they are going to be.
It might be 49-0 at halftime. It's not that Nebraska did. Just Ohio State's going to come back and take the woodshed to somebody. And but you expect things like that, and this will be the game where it's 35-21. You're going, where the heck was that Nebraska team the week before?
Right.
And I mean, listen, it's kind of like when I went over 3 weeks ago. All right, fly, I'm about ready to kill you.
Last time I had you on, it was a cricket. Now it's a fly.
That's a fly. Yeah, there you go. No, I think Nebraska will be ready to play this week, but Ohio State's a different, how bad does Ohio State want to turn it on? And what does Nebraska, Nebraska's going to play for pride. Biggest thing, Nebraska's got a young quarterback. Everybody forgets how young he is. And
he's 19.
He's 19. And listen, he's making freshman mistakes. I'm telling you, a year from now, Nebraska will be a lot better because he's been through a year. He'll have a chance to develop or look at film. I think he's just going to be a way different quarterback. Not that he's not bad now. Listen, I'd take him in a freaking heartbeat. Don't get me wrong. But I think that's a lot of it. And, Indiana, Indiana had a lot of kids from James Madison that came over that played well. And James Madison was a top 25 team last year. Bring a few recruits and a coach that is won at every level. You want to talk about turning around a program quick. Indiana was a doormat. This guy comes in. They might be if they beat Ohio State in 2 weeks, and I'm not so sure they can't beat Ohio State. They might be playing Oregon for the Big Ten and not Ohio State. So
Indiana's for real.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks they haven't played anybody. Well, it doesn't matter when you're scoring those kind of points. They haven't had an off game. No, they're putting up points every single game.
Well, and even Indiana's coach last year, he got fired. He's a D coordinator at Ohio State. It's either Ohio State or Penn State. They weren't a bad ball club. They just, they had caught lightning in a bottle in 2020. They just had to put it together since then. But obviously, this guy has found something, and you play who's in front of you. And, it's just like this week. Iowa State's got a bye. Iowa plays, Northwestern, and you line up. Caleb Johnson still run the ball well. We just need to have some quarterback production.
It's been a while.
Well,
it's been a while.
It's been, if you read, I've been listening to a lot of podcasts this week, and it's just like, they're talking about Kirk wants to get 205. Well, he's not going to get 205 this year. So, which means he's going to be back for another year unless something earth-shattering happens. But I also think he's also in a position to where if Iowa loses this game Saturday, all bets are off. This thing could turn negative quickly. And I hope that doesn't happen, but I think Kirk also knows that he's been riding this about as far as he can. And if Cade's not performing, I think he knows he's going to have to make a change.
Yeah.
So,
we talked about Iowa State being off. They have the bye week this week. I made a college football comment at that NAMI event, and get Iowa fans to cheer and Nebraska fans to cheer. And from back in the corner, I hear Iowa State.
Who? I guess who is there?
And then a lady up in the front, she just went 20-19.
Yeah.
I said, I got to take it. It happened. I have to take it.
I didn't know that Iowa State had a kicker that could kick over 50 yards till they beat Iowa.
I'm not entirely sure how that happened.
Yeah.
I think there might have been helium in the ball or something. I'm not sure.
Well, here's an interesting one. We're talking college football here, so I mean, interesting one that there's a prevailing thought, and this is Matt Campbell, and all you're starting rumors. If Ryan Day would lose to Indiana, or not losing the big, if he don't win the national title this year, there is feelings that he will be gone. Of course, he's got to beat Michigan, or he'll definitely be gone. But if they don't play for the Big Ten title, there's a feeling he could be gone. And a name I've heard from a couple different sources is the one place I think he would go is Matt Campbell. I think Matt Campbell, because he's an Ohio guy.
Well, the last time Iowa State had a pretty good year, I thought that Campbell wasn't going to stay, and that the Florida job was available then. Yeah. And I thought, because in my mind, where do you want to coach? Ames, Iowa, or Gainesville?
Well, I mean, he's coaching the Gilbert girls soccer team. Hey, good for him. Fantastic, I mean, must be doing something right, Ames. So,
well, and also college football. You're a Navy vet, and the midshipmen are having quite a year. They've now broken into the top 25. They're ranked 24 this week. They've got Notre Dame at home, I think it is.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame's ranked number 12. That's probably going to be the most competitive that game has been in a long time, if you can tell who's who, because they're all wearing gold helmets. But
well, as I say, there's certain schools that lose, America wins. If Notre Dame loses, America wins. So I'll definitely be rooting for Notre Dame. It's kind of like Alabama. If Alabama loses, America wins, because everybody's happy, including the casinos. Well,
I still
maybe
think,
not casinos.
I think college football is better with a good Notre Dame team out there. When they were really struggling, it's just, to me, there was something missing. I get it. Notre Dame's a love or a hate 'em kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Nobody's neutral about Notre Dame, but when they're good, I think that even if you want to put them into the villain role, I think it's just better for college football.
Well, I've always said that I thought Notre Dame would be better in the Big Ten, but if you go back and understand the history of the Big Ten and Notre Dame back in the 30s tried to get into the Big Ten 2 or 3 times, and basically the Big Ten said nope, not interested. They weren't interested, and I think a lot of it was probably Michigan. I don't know if it's so much Ohio State at that time, but definitely Michigan. And so now it's, well, they should join the Big Ten. Well, would they? I think now with money being what is, it'd be a problem. But that's my thing. I wish Notre Dame played in the Big Ten Conference. They play an ACC schedule, and nothing against the ACC, but they would play Michigan, they would play Ohio State, they would play Penn State, they would play Oregon, they would play a tougher schedule.
I'm still upset that Penn State's in the Big Ten. So,
yeah, I mean, it is.
What was it? Was it 85?
Yeah,
when did that happen?
Well, yeah, in the 80s. I mean, Cale Sanderson's the head wrestling coach at Penn State too. I'm not a huge. Well, I can't not be a fan of Cale because what is for wrestling, but as a Hawkeye fan, that's painful to watch them win the title every year in wrestling. But that's a story for another day. So.
Well, want to give love to a few of the sponsors that we have here in the morning show, and we'll talk with you about some of the stuff you have going on right now with AirServe. But since you mentioned wrestling, George Ivanoff with The Best Wrestler, having a gentleman like that with him and his dad, and having that good of a wrestling club right here locally, I mean, I think that adds a lot of legitimacy to this entire area. And what better place than in Iowa to have an Olympic caliber wrestling club the way that they are, and they've got champions coming out of there, and everything that George is doing. I talk about it every day on this show, that just how big of a fan I am of the Ivanoffs.
No, like I said, I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I don't follow it at the high school level like I used to. Obviously, I got kids that got graduated, but what I do follow, wrestling's always been big in Southwest Iowa, and with his club and his program, it's just another good place. I mean, if you look at the amount of, I'm going to say quality, there's several good wrestling clubs, but, it's not every day that you have someone that's been to the Olympics that's running your wrestling room. I mean, that's saying something right there. And so it's great to have a facility like that for young kids to learn and grow up, because, I mean, unfortunately, fortunately, but unfortunately, to be a really good wrestler, you need to start pretty young, because if you don't, it seems like anymore, you fall behind. But if you got the right person teaching, if you got the right place to go, you can learn a lot of things. So yeah, and he's in a good location. I mean, there's a lot of stuff always going on with youth sports down there. So yeah, can't
All at the
can't go wrong with
Mid-America
that.
Center.
Yeah,
You bet.
absolutely.
Also, Cindy Schmader with Service Master Restore by Schmader coming on as a sponsor of Morning Coffee. We're very thankful for her and for all of the work that she does. I think that she makes people's lives better. And,
Yeah.
after something horrible has happened, she can take a look at some of these items that look pretty damaged and bring them back to life.
Well, she's got a pretty thankless job. I mean, it's good she's around, because you have to deal with people in the worst spots, floods, fires, whatever else, and then she gets to deal with the insurance company too. So, listen, insurance companies are great to deal with these days. Sorry, hope you weren't looking for an insurance sponsor. I might have messed that up for you.
I'll find one and have him come on and debate you on the show. How about that?
There you go. I'll just sit on them. There you go. I'll win.
Rick Graybill with Foxco Fabrication is a huge supporter of everything that we're doing here. I hear from Rick. He's making me a sign. It's going to hang right back here.
Really?
And I've seen I haven't seen the version that's painted yet. He said the paint's ordered and gets powder coated, gets all kinds of stuff done to it. So that's going to look pretty cool. And the joke is get the deer off my wall. But
yeah.
That's on the way. So foxcofab.com is the website to check out all the stuff that Rick does. I mean, I know you've talked to him, and he's a cool guy.
So what's he gonna do? Be a caricature with your big head with the headphones and the speaker on? Is that what he's got to cut out of and gonna
that would
gloss
actually
thing?
be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I got a visual of it. I mean, I'm not a metal artist like he is, but I deal enough with metal fabrication. I'm sure he could probably make something pretty cool that hangs behind there.
Well, I think I may have to change the name of the studio. I think that's what's coming with what he's making, and I'll just leave it at that. And also, of course, Sue Pitts with Just Sue Creative, who built my website, did a phenomenal job on that website. It looks really, really well. So if you need any help with a website or SEO or help with social media or any of that stuff, Sue can help with that. So Just Sue Creative is a site. And with you, with Waldstein Plumbing and also AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, now's the time of year, Travis, that people are finally turning their furnaces on. I'm sure there's still a few holdouts that have gotten through some pretty chilly mornings, but I'm not one of them.
Well, here's the deal. I have not turned mine on yet. I haven't even put on a sweatshirt yet. I put a pullover on a week ago Tuesday.
Right.
So I pulled it, but I was off by 10 o'clock. Of course, when you're a freaking oven like I am, we won't go there. But yeah, people are definitely starting their furnaces, doing checkups. We're doing a lot of checkups. Always worry about carbon monoxide, worry about safety. You worry about performance with furnaces in particular. Your biggest thing you run into is, it's, generally your furnace or AC are your two biggest energy producers in your home. So, it's like anything else. If they're not running efficiently, they're not running well, it's going to cost you more money. And in today's economy where, money's not everything, but saving it is. It's important to have done. So
well, and you've got there's programs out there. There's obviously you can help folks out if they need a new furnace or an air conditioner. You've got different things in place to be able to take care of all of that, and it can, as you said, it can end up saving you money over the long term.
Well, that's part of the deal, saving money, it's, listen, heating and air conditioning isn't fancy. No one wants to go, hey, would you rather go buy a new car or a new furnace or AC? Well, it doesn't take me too long to figure out that I'm not as fancy as a new car or new woodwork or whatever. I mean, it's kind of like when my wife married me, she says, well, you're definitely not the Ferrari. You might be the jalopy, but I guess you'll do, but.
She doesn't have to worry about you starting when you get up in the morning.
Yeah, I'm like my John Deere 60. Just flip the switch on, hit the starter, and I take off. I'm steady. So.
Well, Travis, as always, pleasure to talk to you. Glad that you were able to join us this morning on Morning Coffee. And, well, as we always say, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
And thank you very much for listening. And I've got a day trip that I'll talk about on Monday, but I'm going to hopefully do that tomorrow. And since I did a whole show on day trips, I've got one planned.
Day trip. So which direction you going?
Well, when you live in Council Bluffs, if you're staying in Iowa, you got to go east. Well, I guess you can't go north.
You can't go north. Yeah.
If you go south, you're out of the state pretty quick. But no, we're going east.
We got a friend of ours that went hiking in the Los Hills. You can go hiking for 4 days. I'm not sure the Los Hills where I do it, but it's a beautiful area. But
no, that was what you're talking about, Kyle. That was a great. That podcast is coming up in a few weeks. I had a chance to sit down and talk with him, and the sun was going down as we're sitting on the deck at the lodge down there at Waubonsee State Park, and and I'm not sure will you still be able to see us by the end of the interview because it's starting to get dark. But that was a great. He had a lot of fun. There's 50 people on that hike.
That's what he said. So yeah, it's a lot more fun than falling in a hole in the dark. I guess.
And on that note, have a great weekend. We'll see you again on Monday.
See ya.